17. Cruelty and compassion, and whether it is better to be loved than feared, or the reverse. Taking others of the qualities I enumerated above, I say that a prince must want to have a reputation for compassion rather than for cruelty. Nonetheless, he must be careful that he does not make bad use of compassion. Caesar Borgia was accounted cruel. Nevertheless, this cruelty of his reformed the Romagna, brought it unity, and restored order and obedience. On reflection, it will be seen that there was more compassion in Caesar than in the Florentine people, who to escape being called cruel allowed Pistoia to be devastated. So a prince must not worry if he incurs reproach for his cruelty, so long as he keeps his subjects united and loyal. By making an example or two, he will prove more compassionate than those, being too compassionate, allow disorders which lead to murder and rapine. These nearly always harm the whole community, whereas executions ordered by a prince only affect individuals. A new prince of all rulers finds it impossible to avoid a reputation for cruelty because of the abundant dangers inherent in a newly won state. Virgil, through the mouth of Dido, says, "Harsh necessity and the newness of my kingdom force me to do such things and to guard my frontiers everywhere." Nonetheless, a prince must be slow to believe allegations and to take action, and must watch that he does not come to be afraid of his own shadow. His behavior must be tempered by humanity and prudence, so that overconfidence does not make him rash, or excessive distrust make him unbearable. From this arises the following question: whether it is better to be loved than feared, or the reverse. The answer is that one would like to be both, the one and the other. Because it is difficult to combine them, it is far better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. One can make this generalization about men. They are ungrateful, fickle, liars, and deceivers. They shun danger and are greedy for profit. While you treat them well, they are yours. They would shed their blood for you, risk their property, their lives, their sons, so long, as I said above, as danger is remote. But when you are in danger, they turn away. Any prince who has come to depend entirely on promises and has taken no other precautions ensures his own ruin. Friendship which is bought with money, and not with greatness and nobility of mind, is paid for, but it does not last, and it yields nothing. Men worry less about doing an injury to one who makes himself loved than to one who makes himself feared, for love is secured by a bond of gratitude, which men, wretched creatures that they are, break when it is to their advantage to do so. But fear is strengthened by a dread of punishment, which is always effective. The prince must nonetheless make himself feared in such a way that if he is not loved, at least he escapes being hated. For fear is quite compatible with an absence of hatred, and the prince can always avoid hatred if he abstains from the property of his subjects and citizens, and from their women. If, even so, it proves necessary to execute someone, this is to be done only when there is proper justification and manifest reason for it. But above all, a prince must abstain from the property of others, because men sooner forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony. It is always possible to find pretext for confiscating someone's property, and a prince who starts to live by rapine always finds pretexts for seizing what belongs to others. On the other hand, pretexts for executing someone are harder to find, and they are sooner gone. However, when a prince is campaigning with his soldiers and is in command of a large army, then he need not worry about having a reputation for cruelty, because without such a reputation, no army was ever kept united and disciplined. Among the admirable achievements of Hannibal is included this, that although he led a huge army, made up of countless different races, on foreign campaigns, there was never any dissension, either among the troops themselves or against their leader, whether things were going well or badly. For this, his inhuman cruelty was wholly responsible. It was this, along with his countless other qualities, which made him feared and respected by his soldiers. If it had not been for his cruelty, his other qualities would not have been enough. The historians, having given little thought to this, on the one hand admire what Hannibal achieved, and on the other condemn what made his achievements possible. That his other qualities would not have been enough by themselves can be proved by looking at Scipio, a man unique in his own time, and through all recorded history. His armies mutinied against him in Spain, and the only reason for this was his excessive leniency, which allowed his soldiers more license than was good for military discipline. Fabius Maximus reproached him for this in the Senate and called him a corrupter of the Roman legions. Again, when the Locrians were plundered by one of Scipio's officers, he neither gave them satisfaction nor punished his officers' insubordination, and this was all because of his being too lenient by nature. By way of excuse for him, some senators argued that many men were better at not making mistakes themselves than at correcting them in others. But in time, Scipio's lenient nature would have spoiled his fame and glory had he continued to indulge it during his command. When he lived under orders from the Senate, however, this final characteristic of his was not only concealed, but even brought him glory. So, on this question of being loved or feared, I conclude that since some men love as they please, but fear when the prince pleases, a wise prince should rely on what he controls, not on what he cannot control. He must only endeavor, as I said, to escape being hated.